I'm Maggie Shane, and this is the Coffee House Blog. Welcome. Today's post is Tales from the Book Side. Book signing tales. I am doing my first book signing in quite a long time. This coming Saturday, February 7th, from 3:30 to 5 p.m. at All My Friends Bookstore, right on Main Street in Cortland, New York. It's my hometown bookstore. The nearest one to me, that is. I live about 15 minutes north of Cortland in the hills. Having a bookstore so nearby is a dream come true. So, book signings are what's on my mind this week and wondering how it will go. And I thought I'd share some book signing memories of interest. Of course, the best memories are the ones with the authors who've moved on since then. And this image shows one of those. That's Carolyn Andrews, who wrote for Harlequin Temptation on my right, and Garda Parker, who wrote for Kensington's historical and contemporary lines on my left. I love them both very much. Great women, taught me a lot. We had a lot of fun together, and I still love them. We've had a great time, my pals and I, at book signing events over the years. We writers don't often travel alone. We like to move in packs. So most of my signing events have been multi-author gigs where nobody ever has to sit there all alone giving out directions to the restroom. Oh, it can be brutal, but it's also great fun. Like that one time when some writer pals and I were signing books at a mall bookstore, a Walden Books or a Borders, back when they had some of those things. Don't you miss them? Anyway, a lady dressed like she'd come straight from a Renaissance fair danced by our table, sprinkling us, our hair, our clothes, and our books with fairy dust in the form of fine gold glitter. I was leaving a glitter trail everywhere I went for days. You can shower all you want, but you can't get glitter out. Glitter leaves when glitter decides to leave. At another signing, where it was so dead I felt like I must have set my table up in the middle of the desert and even the vultures were ignoring me, suddenly an eager reader came bouncing up to the table, raising my hopes. And then she asked, "Do you have the new Stephen King book?" And I said, "I don't work here. I'm an author, but I'm sure they have it inside." "You're an author?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes, I'm here signing copies of my latest book." "You wrote this?" she asked, picking up the book and turning it over to read the blurb. "Yep, I wrote it." "Wow," she said, and she set the book down, looked me right in the eyes and said, "So do you know Stephen King?" My companion grabbed for her tall Diet Coke because sucking it down kept her from laughing out loud. And then I said, "Of course I know him. We all know each other." And my companion snorted Diet Coke out her nose. Yeah, we might not have sold very many books that day, but we sure did have a good time. At another mall book signing with fellow authors, an angry woman stopped at our table to angrily declare, "You are the reason more girls don't study math and science." My companion that day had studied engineering at SU. Then there was the book signing I missed entirely. It was at a writer's convention, the highlight of the week, when the hotel doors were thrown open to the public and some 200 writers lined the hotel's convention area, each with a table full of books and bookmarks and buttons and free pens. There were multiple checkout lines at the far ends of the giant space, and customer queues wound throughout like snakes. I used to do this mega signing every year, and I have some great stories from the annual event. The first one is the one I missed. I was having a drink at the hotel bar with a young editor named Cindy Wong from Penguin Putnam. We had such a great conversation that we talked straight through the book signing. By the time I remembered to check my watch, it was over. On the upside, she asked me for a look at my work, and a few weeks later we had a book deal, and I wound up writing, I think, 4 novels for Berkeley. Then there was the year of the vampire rumors. Around the time my Wings in the Night series was starting to become widely known, and Christine Feehan was releasing her Carpathians right at the beginning, rumors about the two of us began to circulate. Rumor 1. Maggie Shane and Christine Feehan are the same person, as they've never been seen in the same place at the same time. Rumor 2, Maggie Shane and Christine Feehan are arch enemies who hate each other's guts, as they've never been seen in the same place at the same time. Rumor 3, Maggie Shane cannot be photographed without her consent. Yeah, that one threw me too. The tale went that some fans had once tried to photograph me at an event, but my image did not show up on the film. Later, they asked my permission to take my photo, and I said sure, and it worked just fine. So they were convinced that I couldn't be photographed without my consent. I let that rumor ride for a while. But Christine Feehan and I took a photo together just to prove that we were not two separate writers or arch enemies. And after that, we met just because of these rumors, and we became really good friends. I even went out to the West Coast 2 years in a row to co-host her Reader Appreciation Weekend. Now those were some book signings to remember. Die-hard vampire fans, one and all, usually in costume. For years, at the big RWA convention, book signing mega event, I worked magic that my books would sell out just once. I just wanted all my books to be gone. Magic has a sense of humor, though, so the first time that happened, it was because the books went missing and couldn't be found. I had a handful, I sold them all, and I was done. Very funny magic. Right after the signing, the books were found stacked in a hallway in the hotel. Poor, sad, homeless books. Eventually, there came a time when I did sell every single copy, of which there had been 72. And that was very cool, even though it took the entire 2 hours of the event. But the book signing that stands out like no other is the very first time a line formed in front of my table. Only a very few authors out of the 200 plus at these mega signing events would ever have a line. The few who did were placed around the outer edges to make room for their inevitable lines. Authors like Nora Roberts and Jane Ann Krentz and Susan Elizabeth Phillips, and they always had lines. But this time, little old me, sitting in the trenches with all the other middle-range authors, experienced the spontaneous formation, like a twister touching down, of a long and impressive line of readers waiting for me to sign their books. And I did so, crying all over their pages and smudging the ink of my signature on every last one of them and muttering, "I have a line." At one unforgettable book signing, the half-brother I'd never met and had only recently learned about showed up. That was a surprise. Who knows what happy memories will be made at this weekend's event? Again, that's Saturday, February 7th, starting at 3:30 p.m. at All My Friends Bookstore in Cortland, New York, 51 Main Street, right across from Bricks. So who's bringing the Oreos? They're vegan, you know. Now, this was a little shorter of a post today, but I have something really special planned for you next week. So be sure to subscribe so you get an email every time a new post goes up. And I'll see you next Monday. Bye. By the way, folks, all the month of February long, Wings in the Night is buy one, get one free at Barnes & Noble. And book one of Wings in the Night is on sale for $2.99.